We will start by building process knowledge because every professional writer applies a process, a series of sequential steps that moves them towards the goal. So let's look at the writing process timeline. There are 4 primary steps that writers go through each time they write: pre-writing, drafting, revising, and editing. Although individual writers develop a variety of strategies within each of these categories, all of these steps are essential for successful writing projects. Inexperienced writers often underestimate the amount of time for completion of each of these steps. Others may know that writing takes a lot of time, may not have a firm understanding of what all is involved in completing each step. Still, others may not make the connection that one of the most important stages of pre-writing is reading. As you can see from this timeline, the writing process, revision, takes up the most time. And an important part of revision involves the time to put something down for a while to better see their work from a reader's perspective. There is also the crucial feedback loop to consider when gauging time on each project. Who will provide the feedback? And do you need to schedule an appointment? These questions need to be answered early in the revision stage, and you need to plan to have the time to incorporate the feedback. So what does this look like on a calendar? If you have a deadline at the end of the month, make a big X on that date if you use a physical calendar. If you use electronic calendars, which is what I use and I highly recommend, go ahead and put in that date on your calendar. Then you need to work backwards from the deadline date. So if we're talking about a month with 31 days and you have a deadline on the 31st, then the 2 days prior to that would be reserved for editing. You can also put all of these stages of the writing timeline on your calendar to remind you. So the 29th and the 30th would be your editing days. 2 weeks before the deadline is when your draft should be done. Drafting means that you complete the full draft. So the drafting phase should be completed on the 15th, given our 31-day month. The 15th is the beginning then of the revision stage. So you have 2 full weeks from the 15th through the 28th to complete your revision. Prior to that time then, you may want to mark on your calendar that your drafting needs to be completed. I usually reserve 2 to 4 days for drafting. So let's say from the 12th through the 15th are reserved for drafting. That means that the pre-writing phase, which is when you are rereading the directions and gathering all the resources, and most importantly, building your subject matter knowledge through research and reading, needs to take place. So that's essentially from the 1st through the 11th. That's the pre-writing stage for this imaginary project. What students don't understand typically is this long period of time that should be 2 weeks prior to the deadline is when it begins, and about 3 days before the deadline is when it ends, should be reserved for revision. During this time, feedback should be received. The feedback can come from peers, instructors, or if you're writing in a professional context, this is when you reach out to your team, your supervisor, your project manager to make sure, or even your client, to make sure you're on track. And using the campus resources such as the Writing Center will really help you succeed on every project. Feedback loops in the real world often happen multiple times. It's not unusual on a formal report or formal proposal to revise based on feedback 15, even 20 times. I know that's hard to fathom, but that is a circumstance that in the real world happens quite frequently if you're writing at a high level. So, planning for feedback loops now as a student is a great habit of mine to get into for success, not only in college, but in your career. Advanced writers focus their efforts on other writing projects that may be at different stages in the timeline and thus might require different activities with different time requirements. This enables successful writers to productively move forward on a variety of projects without getting bogged down in any one stage of writing. If a writer is pre-writing or reading and researching for one project, editing another, and working on revision on a third, then each of the projects is advanced and the writer can take time away from each project while maintaining motivation and enthusiasm for all three. Now that you've watched the calendaring process here in the video, I would like you to go ahead and look at your next project's deadline and plug in the dates on your calendar. Then, once you've finished calendaring, I invite you to watch the 4 short videos that I have created to explain the different strategies that professional writers use in each of the 4 phases of the writing process. Professional writers have a tool bag of strategies that they draw from for each writing project. And by the time you watch these 4 short videos, you too will have a tool bag that will help you succeed on all of your future writing projects. Thank you.